just saw happen. One of the really good signs of a telltale sign is always what's happening with the cryptos that manage to recover the fastest. Obviously, seeing across the board this sort of big hit happening, it affects all the entire market. So we wouldn't want to get all caught up in talking about how any one of these cryptos is to blame in particular in getting it lumped in that sense with all the other technology. I mean, obviously, right across the board, we see it's affecting every single cryptocurrency on here. So when we talk about what we just witnessed happen with Ripple, the fact that Ripple just passed Ethereum, this marks an entirely new time. Essentially, when we think about this has happened before. We've seen Ripple and Ethereum switching places. It does happen, and it's commonly, and it's the dynamics that go into these things for sure are definitely worth analyzing. And I think when we talk about what this is indicative of in terms of the greater cryptocurrency movements and these different variables that are at hand, it's important to look at the powers that be that have aligned themselves behind any particular technology. And I think the fact that Ripple is the establishment cryptocurrency, I mean time and time again, Ripple and XRP face this a lot of criticism for their basically the fact that people don't necessarily love the idea of the banks and so forth, and how these things might be set to go, and you can't blame them in that sense. I mean, the people who initially had that philosophy of the beginning, for those of us who've been paying attention to what's been happening in the world of cryptocurrency for any amount of time, I mean, it's plain to see that there's obviously been a pretty clear and present shift in the philosophy and the commonly held basically we've come a long way from the way that people were perceiving how these things could move forward in terms of the Bitcoin age and all these different things. As we're in getting ready to go through a very interesting transitional period in terms of how cryptocurrency stands to basically pick itself back up from where it is right now, in particular where we can be expecting it to go, and it is an interesting time because up until this point, we were relatively seeing Bitcoin going unchallenged, but right now, basically with these, because it's interesting because people will talk about the fact that they've seen the BTC dominance is up, but relatively speaking, you would have to take into consideration the fact that overall in this space, when people are seeing their altcoins getting ultimately decimated, people see their it's interesting because they see their own crypto of choice taking the hits and so forth, and they want to not lose their money like anybody else, so they'll move upwards to Bitcoin where the case might be, and honestly, who could blame them? But as far as seeing how the overall market's going to be influenced by this, there's surely a lot of things to be said in that regard. Obviously, there's people out there, whales we'll call them, people who have much deeper pockets than any of us. For all I know, obviously there's 85 people who are watching this right now. Maybe one of you are a millionaire or a billionaire or something like that. If so, nice to have you watching the content and all that. But the fact of the matter is, 99 more than 99% of the people on Earth, I'm pretty sure, don't have two pennies to rub together. And I know that's the case for myself. Obviously, I'm not a penny kind of guy. I'm more of a digital kind of guy. So I don't have any pennies. I've got some BTC, but that's intangible. But the point being, now there's people out there who are looking at these things that are happening right now, and the questions that are really on the tip of everybody's tongue, which is the question involving regulations and all the culmination of a vast multitude of variables. But then again, I would probably argue in the direction of when you talk about Ripple, and you want to talk about how Ripple has been really getting themselves ingratiated with, we've seen Ripple on the Ellen DeGeneres show, Ripple on, recognized by a lot of these different mainstream media. So when you want to talk about the fact of the matter is that the establishment, it's not going anywhere. So you want to talk about the fact that Bitcoin and all these different things, they're not going to stand up to the banks and all these different, that's just a pipe dream. Realistically, the fact of the matter is that we'll see full scale integration, and this is the bare bones of I think the the wake up call that's at hand. Now we're going to see a lot of the altcoins getting decimated before the whole mass adoption thing takes place. That's just the fact of the matter is. One of the something very interesting that I was hearing about, reading in a comment actually, was basically this really interesting comment, which was basically talking about the fact that really making a comparison between Bitcoin and and cryptocurrency and the .com bubble, and what we saw was there were all these different .com companies and startups and all these things all over the place, and then when the bubble burst, it the rest is history. So we look at how many cryptos are out here, and how many do we actually even need. See their own crypto that they chose, their own favorite cryptocurrency getting destroyed, getting left in the dust. But it is so now I'm just wondering what you guys think about these variables as they've been coming together. And obviously, I believe in the technology. I say this all the time when I come on here. We'll talk about how people. There's always going to be these different clickbait articles and stuff out there that are gonna hop on board of this kind of dump like we've recently seen. And that's always going to happen. But I believe in like I said, the technology. The future is decentralized. So the fact of the matter is that even if we do see days like these, or even if one day we see the whole collapse of the system. Ripple next Bitcoin. I wouldn't go so far as to say that Ripple is the next Bitcoin, but I would say that it's not going to happen right away. But I think that Ripple has their eye. In the long term, I think anything's possible. And in particular, the Bitcoins might not be here to stay. You think about all these issues of speed, performance, and actual intrinsic value, rather than just perceived value, and all these different variables. I see what's happening right now as sort of like an Achilles heel that's growing for the basically community of cryptocurrency. I mean, the more times we see these sort of flash crashes, the more discouraged people there are out there. And I mean, obviously, boo-hoo, right? But at the end of the day, this sort of thing does culminate, and it builds on top of one another, and it results in, I mean, you name it. There's more. There's people who see people are selling, and then they sell, and people who, it's the whole definition of the bear and the bull market. But I mean, all this aside, I mean, the fact of the matter is, I think that these big whales that are that have a vested interest in the corporate integration of a lot of these different technologies, and when they realize that, you know, crypto is on its like ready to completely overtake, I mean, the paradigm shift that we always the paradigm shift we're forced to talk about, the fact that you know, the decentralized storage of data, the amount of hacks and all these things, there's a growing demand for basically the needs that are met by crypto, and I mean, and I think that it goes without saying that the establishment really can't ignore you know, these different things as they've been, you know. So I mean, obviously there's people who are you know, making money at all times in cryptocurrency. I mean, it's not, I mean, it's really no, someone like me who's been you know, had enough time you know, in the crypto world, you know, to basically get all your ducks in a row. Now I feel bad for people who are just trying to get the hang of it, and then it's on days like today. But you really have to realize that you only lose when you sell. You know, you only lose when you give up, and you might be seeing your favorite altcoin getting decimated right now, but you know, it's just a matter of realizing that I mean, there's a risk reward, and you know, all these different dynamics at hand. So, you know, once XRP hits $1, we will see the biggest I guess but so what do you guys think? What do you want to talk about? So as far as you know, looking at what's happening, I mean, we got Bitcoin. I mean, we're talking about Bitcoin quite a bit. XRP, Ethereum. I think smart contracts. I think Ethereum still has its place. You know, I'm not completely ruling Ethereum out either. I think that there's a lot of you know, potential as far as seeing the things that can be built, you know, on the infrastructure that's made possible by Ethereum. We got a lot of you know, different partnerships and all these things up ahead. But I mean, it is an interesting sign of the times. So, you know, all that being said, I hope that you guys enjoy this content. I mean, if you're interested in you know, following us on Twitter, you know, obviously the Twitter is the same as it's always been, you know, at CryptoTuber. But Ripple overtakes Ethereum as Bitcoin's 15 billion bloodbath. You know, and Ethereum continues to fall today. Blah blah blah. This is the number that I care about. The world debt clock, ladies and gentlemen, and those in between. The world debt clock is ticking, and you know, there's nothing you could do about it. So, you know, get some crack a Budweiser, you know, do what you got to do. But I mean, at the end of the day, it is interesting. I think that I pay attention to what all the different cryptos are doing, because you know, you really can't just pay attention to one. You know, even if you have a specific favorite, I think that, you know, those of us who are more diversified are going to be the ones who will you know, inevitably be victorious in the game of cryptos, you know, as we see it moving forward, you know, and advancing and into the next section of you know, what we're going to be expecting to see. But what I want to talk about, you know, what I think the whole point of this live stream is, and one of the things that we could talk about in the future, that, you know, is really the the vital integration of the current state of doing, the current mentality with the way that we're going to be expecting this more digitalized community, and the rudiments of such of a change are already clearly visible, all the way across the board in a lot of different aspects of what we see. And I mean, the fact of the matter is that there needs to be some sort of consideration taken into place for the really the amount of loss that's happening right now. I mean, companies are losing potentially billions, if not trillions of dollars every single year because of the failure in bookkeeping that could easily be solved by blockchain. The fact of the matter is that blockchain it solves just so many problems in such a simplistic way. Blockchain is no longer a theory. At this point, we're really seeing the fact that the future of tomorrow begins today. Now, but these are just my opinions, of course, regarding these things. I mean, we'll be making a more in-depth video, but I just wanted to say, for those out here, I think maybe Litecoin, yeah. So I think those of us, out there who are veterans in the crypto space, I think we'll be fine. But I just wanted to make this video just to say, for those people out there who are really feeling the sting of what just happened, I mean, we're here for you. I mean, the community and all these things. I mean, if you need a shoulder to cry on, it happens to the best of us, and that's not even a joke. I'm really being legit there. But yeah, all that being said, I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Remember, this video is not advice or anything like that. Ready for it? I'm not your dad. Remember, I'm not your dad, so don't call me your dad. But yeah, all that being said, I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. I hope that you stay relevant, and make sure that you subscribe to the channel. Help us reach 100,000 subscribers. That's the goal, and hopefully we'll reach it. And yeah, all that being said, I hope you guys have enjoyed this content, and yeah, we'll be making another video, more live streams to come shortly. So have a good day, everybody.